Hello, it's April 5th, and my name is Joey Bujold, and I'd like to do a quick little video on Saturn retrograde. Saturn will be going retrograde tomorrow, April 6th, and will be continuing its backward motion until August 25th. Just to do a little bit of an explanation as to what planetary retrograde means. This happens when two planetary bodies are traveling around the sun, and due to their relative motion and speed, one of them appears to be going backwards from the other. And so what we generally find in astrology is that the themes relative to the one planet do tend to creep up in our lives a little bit more. We tend to feel the weight of the themes being presented, and so it's a good time really to step back and put some thought into what these themes mean to us, and maybe reflect on them a little bit more until they go back into their normal motion. So basically, these planetary energies really are focused on trying to teach us something, and so these retrograde periods are a good time to take stock in our lives of the lessons that we need to learn relative to this planet. Saturn represents our innate capacity to release and let go of our attachments and fears. It is the slowest moving planet, and as such, it represents our preservation towards fulfilling our goals, and it teaches us self-control and concentration on long-term objectives and building lasting structures in our lives. And although it is the planet of ambition, it can feel stressful at times. You know, when we don't get the things that we want, or, you know, when we are committed to our goals but the goals don't materialize, that can feel very stressful. And so Saturn, what's going to happen is on April 6th, Saturn will begin that retrograde motion, and so these themes will start to pop up more in our lives. Depending on where Saturn sits within our natal chart, you're going to feel it very differently. Now, Saturn, as of the end of 2016, Saturn completed its transit through Sidereal Scorpio. Now, when I talk about the zodiac, I want to underline that I'm using the Sidereal zodiac, not the tropical zodiac. So late last year, when Saturn completed that transit through Scorpio, we found that Scorpio is the zodiac sign related to strengthening our inner emotional nature. And so, because of its association with Mars at that time, there was a lot of feelings of insecurity and fear, and you know, and you could definitely feel it, not only, you know, in the things that you were doing very likely, but also in around the world and in the news. And, you know, when we looked at certainly all the things that were happening politically in the US, and, you know, we moved towards, from that fear and anxiety, more towards a sense of optimism and hope. You ended up seeing people committing themselves to their beliefs and the things that inspire them the most in life. And what you're going to find is, as Saturn moves backwards, it's actually going to go in that point where it's going to cross over the zodiac back into Scorpio. And so for a period, we're going to go through that time where we do have a lot of those emotional fears and insecurities. And then towards August, when Saturn goes back again in its forward motion, you're going to find that there'll be this renewed sense of optimism. So what can you do when Saturn's in retrograde? I mean, certainly we have to move forward with our lives, and we can't just stop everything and take that pause and reflect. So what I'd like to do is offer some practical advice as to, you know, what you can do to take the time and reflect on what the planet is actually teaching you but also move forward in your life. So I think the Saturn retrograde period really is a good time to take stock of your long-term commitments and really ask yourself, do I have all the resources I need to accomplish my long-term goals? You know, spend as much time as you can by yourself in seclusion. And, you know, it is also a very good time for meditation. And when you're not meditating and you're out in the world, it's also a very good time to practice mindfulness in everything that you do. And don't rush through all of your tasks. Take time, do them mindfully, and concentrate. You know, the more you can meditate and slow down, the better. That's what Saturn is trying to teach us. And very important, you know, avoid taking on too much responsibility at once. Make sure before you take on any commitments that you ask yourself, you know, is this really helping me to accomplish my long-term goals? And if it isn't, then, you know, you may want to reconsider taking on that responsibility. You want to allow space in your life, you know, for a pause during those long-term projects. You know, give yourself a bit of a breather and give yourself that time to inwardly focus and introspect. And above all, Saturn can feel stressful at times. So what can we do for that? Well, you know, you want to stay as cool and calm as possible. Try to avoid worrying too much and too much anxiety. You know, do things that help you to calm down and take your mind off of stress and worry. Certainly, you know, getting out there as the weather's getting nice and warm, and taking time to spend time with their family and loved ones. Certainly that would be very, very good. And certainly during this period, you may have a tendency to feel the weight of the retrograde motion of the planets because, you know, in addition to the nodes Rahu and Ketu, there is also 4 planets in total that are going to be retrograde for a period at least until April 15th, when Venus goes back into its forward motion. So you're going to have Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter. So Mercury represents our speech and our intellect and our thoughts. Venus represents our love and our desire. And of course, I already talked about Saturn, our commitment towards our long-term objectives. And Jupiter is about meaning, hope, inspiration, and purpose in our life. So really, I'd urge you to take this time, at least until April 15th, to take stock of all of these things and spend some time dwelling and reflecting upon them. Also to take some time to meditate more on these themes and how they affect your life. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Namaste.